A study has found that there were 156 full or partial shutdowns of the internet or social media platforms in 2020 worldwide. Africa is in second place after Asia, with 20 shutdowns that affected 12 countries. Afrobarometer believes shutting down the internet is risky for African leaders. Zianda Stuurman, communications coordinator for Afrobarometer Southern Africa, is joining us now on the Midday View for more on this. Good afternoon, Zianda. Thank you very much for your time on the Midday View here on eNCA. I guess the first point I would like to make is these were not voluntary shutdowns. These were shutdowns ordered by governments. Am I correct?
That's 100% correct. Some of the shutdowns were very short and lasted a day or less in Burundi, in Egypt, or in Togo, but in other parts of the continent, such as in the Oroma region in Ethiopia, the shutdowns lasted more than 90 days.
Reasons given?
I mean, there's a wide sort of variety of reasons, essentially given, everything from trying to sort of stem the tide of fake news. In Sudan, it was a sort of mitigating factor against rising conflict there. But at the same time, we did also find that in Burundi, in Guinea, in Tanzania, in Togo, and in Uganda, all of the shutdowns were timed around elections. And that's obviously a very worrying sign.
Yes, we saw in the recent Uganda elections, I remember the young people, the youth of Uganda were campaigning for the opposition leader using social media, and the government of Yoweri Museveni, who generationally of an older age, did not take kindly to that, and they imposed those restrictions. But those can backfire.
Absolutely. We've already seen from economic analysis that shutdowns cost the African economies, or sort of combined African economies, about $237 million in 2020, or 3.4 billion rand. And so we find as the continent and as the world economy moves more and more online and towards digital media, and this all becomes a space for business, for work, for education, for entertainment, and social media, these shutdowns are not only have high economic costs, they have high political costs, and they certainly have the cost of eroding trust between governments and normal citizens.
Yes, I mean, we saw, for example, I'm just thinking about Donald Trump and Twitter, when in America, Twitter had to shut his account down after the storming of the Capitol Hill by those right-wing elements. I'm wondering if on our continent, some African leaders might use certain political excuses to get things shut down without understanding the full impact of the shutdown of a social media platform.
Absolutely. I think, as you mentioned, we saw this already in Uganda, really where the foreign minister there said that they shut down social media and communications before the election because they wanted to stop the spread of vitriolic language. I think what they're essentially really sort of underestimating, I think, in many African countries and African leaders, that by shutting down communications, particularly during elections, they really start to lose the trust of average citizens who don't believe necessarily that social media is dividing the country or is spreading fake news. And we found in our research that only about a third of people, or 35%, agreed that information that was shared on social media was dividing the country, and so that access should be regulated by government. The vast majority of citizens don't believe that access should be regulated by government. And in fact, they want their media to report on, all sorts of government activities, including corruption.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch this space very carefully as you continue your research. Thank you very much. That's Zianda Stuurman, communications coordinator for Afrobarometer Southern Africa.